Adolf Hitler's story is not told because it is impressive or admirable, but because it is dangerous and instructive. His rise to power shows how a society under pressure can slowly lose its values without realizing it. Germany did not collapse overnight. Step by step, fear replaced reason, anger replaced discussion, and loyalty replaced truth. Hitler did not force his way into power at first. He was invited in by people who believed he would fix their problems. Studying Hitler is important because it helps us understand how propaganda, economic suffering, and political instability can allow extreme ideas to become normal. This story is not about the past alone. It is about recognizing warning signs that can appear in any society. Adolf Hitler was born in 1889 in Austria to a strict and controlling father and a quiet, protective mother. From a young age, Hitler struggled with authority and discipline. He disliked being told what to do and often clashed with teachers, refusing to accept criticism. In school, he showed little interest in structured learning and performed poorly in many subjects. Despite this, Hitler believed he was destined for greatness, even though his actions did not support this belief. This gap between how he saw himself and reality created deep frustration. As a teenager and young adult, Hitler dreamed of becoming an artist. He imagined himself as a creative genius living a respected life. However, when he applied to the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts, he was rejected twice. These rejections were devastating to him. Instead of recognizing his limitations or improving his skills, Hitler blamed external forces and believed the system was unfair. After the deaths of his parents, he lived in poverty, often staying in homeless shelters and surviving by selling small paintings. During this period, he became increasingly isolated, angry, and resentful. These early years shaped his personality, insecure, bitter, and unwilling to accept responsibility for failure. When World War I began in 1914, Hitler volunteered for the German army. This decision gave him something he had lacked his entire life: structure, purpose, and belonging. Military life appealed to him because it was based on obedience, hierarchy. Hitler served as a messenger, a dangerous role that exposed him to constant risk. Although he was brave at times, he never became a leader and remained socially isolated even among fellow soldiers. Germany's defeat in 1918 deeply shocked Hitler. Like many Germans, he believed the country had not truly been defeated in battle, but had been betrayed from within. This belief allowed him to avoid accepting reality and instead direct his anger toward civilians, politicians, and minorities. The war transformed Hitler's identity completely. It turned personal failure into political hatred and gave him a sense of mission. From this point on, his life became centered on revenge, nationalism, and restoring what he believed Germany had lost. After World War I, Germany faced extreme punishment under the Treaty of Versailles. The country lost territory, military power, and international respect. Even worse, it was forced to pay enormous financial reparations. These demands crushed the German economy and created widespread suffering. Inflation spiraled out of control, making money nearly worthless. Families who had saved for years suddenly lost everything. Basic necessities like food became difficult to afford. Politically, Germany was unstable. The new democratic government was weak and divided, unable to respond effectively to crisis after crisis. Violence between political groups became common in the streets. Many people lost faith in democracy altogether and began to believe that strong, authoritarian leadership was the only solution. This atmosphere of fear, humiliation, and desperation created ideal conditions for extremist ideas to grow, and Hitler understood this very well. In 1919, Hitler joined a small political group that would later become the Nazi Party. At first, he had no official power, but he quickly discovered his greatest strength: his ability to influence emotions. Hitler's speeches were not calm or thoughtful. They were loud, aggressive, and filled with certainty. He spoke as if he had all the answers, even when his ideas were simple and misleading. Hitler understood that people suffering from fear and poverty wanted clear explanations and someone to blame. He provided enemies, scapegoats, and promises of renewal. He repeated the same ideas again and again, using simple language that anyone could understand. Over time, his message became familiar and comforting to those who felt lost. His political success was not based on logic or evidence, but on emotional manipulation. In 1923, Hitler attempted to seize power violently in an event known as the Beer Hall Putsch. The attempt failed quickly, and Hitler was arrested. This failure could have ended his political career, but instead it gave him national attention. During his trial, he used the courtroom as a stage, presenting himself as a patriot rather than a criminal. While in prison, Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, where he clearly explained his his beliefs and long-term plans. The book showed that his ideas were deeply ideological and carefully thought out. Prison did not weaken Hitler's beliefs, it strengthened them. When he was released, he realized that violence alone would not bring lasting power. Instead, he decided to use democracy itself as a weapon to destroy democracy from within. The Great Depression of 1929 devastated Germany. Businesses collapsed, unemployment soared, and hunger spread. Once again, fear and desperation dominated daily life. Many people felt abandoned by traditional political parties, which seemed unable to solve the crisis. Hitler and the Nazi Party took advantage of this situation. They promised jobs, stability, and national pride. Their message was simple and confident at a time when others seemed uncertain. As economic suffering increased, so did support for the Nazis. Hitler did not win power because everyone believed in him. He won because enough people believed he was better than chaos. In 1933, Adolf Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany. This did not happen through a violent takeover, but through political agreement. Conservative leaders believed they could control him and use his popularity for their own goals. This was one of the greatest miscalculations in history. Once in office, Hitler wasted no time. He used fear of unrest to justify emergency powers. Step by step, he removed political opponents and weakened democratic institutions. What appeared legal on the surface was deeply destructive underneath. After consolidating power, Hitler eliminated all opposition. Other political parties were banned, free press was destroyed, and critics were arrested. When Germany's president died, Hitler combined leadership roles and declared himself the supreme authority. At this point, democracy in Germany was finished. Decisions came from one man, and loyalty was demanded without question. Fear became a tool of governance. Daily life under Nazi rule was heavily controlled. Schools taught ideology instead of critical thinking. Media existed only to praise the government. Children were trained to obey, not to question. Some citizens supported the regime because unemployment fell and infrastructure improved. However, these benefits came at the cost of freedom, morality, and human dignity. Silence became survival. Hitler believed Germany needed expansion. In 1939, Germany invaded Poland, starting World War II. Early military success made Hitler arrogant. He ignored advisors and trusted only his own judgment. In 1941, he invaded the Soviet Union, underestimating its size, resources, and winter conditions. This decision drained Germany's strength and marked the beginning of collapse. As the war continued, Germany was bombed relentlessly. Cities were destroyed, civilians suffered, and resources ran out. Hitler refused to accept reality and blamed others for failure. By 1945, enemy forces reached Berlin. Hitler isolated himself underground, disconnected from reality. On April 30th, 1945, Adolf Hitler took his own life. Germany surrendered shortly after. The war left Europe in ruins. World War II killed over 60 million people. The Holocaust murdered 6 million Jews. Subscribe to my YouTube if you liked watching the video.